Blancpain refused to make the watch that everybody wants. Welcome back to Horological. Today we're tackling a watch that Blancpain collectors have begged for, a wearable 40mm no radiations 50 Fathoms. Blancpain doesn't make one of these watches in regular production, but a $200 Homage shows exactly what enthusiasts are asking for. My family's connection to Westclocks in Scotland, that gave me an early awareness of how watchmaking has changed over the decades, especially with regard to lume. The no radiation symbol, it's not just a quirky vintage detail, it marks the point when the industry moved away from dangerous radium lume paint and towards safer practices. It's a dial logo that carries genuine meaning. Stay with me till the end because I'm going to settle one of the biggest misunderstandings in dive watch history. Which came first, the 50 Fathoms or the Submariner? So what can you actually buy today? In 2025, Blancpain launched a regular production 38mm 50 Fathoms using a calibre 1150-1153 family, power reserve of around 100 hours. Some versions hack the calibre 1153 and others don't, the calibre 1151. Movement finishing levels are high, really high, nice with a sapphire exhibition case back. At the other end of the size spectrum, the 45mm 50 Fathoms automatique with the calibre 1315, the flagship dive watch in the Blancpain catalogue with a movement to match, 5-day power reserve from a triple sequential barrel arrangement, hacking seconds, silicon balance and serious robustness and horology levels of finishing, 18 karat gold rotor, ongulage, perlage, exquisite hand finishing with a price and exclusivity to match. So your current choices are 38mm or 45mm. What's missing is a standard production 40mm 50 Fathoms watch. They only make these as limited edition specials. The 2021 no radiations was limited to 500 individually numbered pieces globally. Let's look at a watch spec slide of that exact 2021 Blancpain 50 Fathoms no radiations reissue. So we've got a case diameter of 40.3mm, we've got a thickness of 13.2mm including the domed crystal, we've got a lug width of 20mm, lug to lug's 46mm, and it has the in-house calibre 1151 automatic 3Hz non-hacking movement. Power reserve is 100 hours coming from sequential twin barrels. The crystal is box domed sapphire with AR coating on the underside. The water resistance is 300 metres and the weight is 93 grams on the OEM strap that it comes with. Blancpain is famous for the 50 Fathoms, but there are some things about the brand you probably didn't know. Let's break down 5 of them. The oldest watch brand that went silent, founded in 1735 but went dormant during the quartz crisis. Revived in the 1980s by Jean-Claude Biver and Jacques Piquet. No quartz, no smartwatches ever. One of the only ateliers to pledge it will never produce quartz or smartwatches. Very brave of them. The United States Navy's secret Blancpain. Because of the Buy American Act of 1933, Blancpain couldn't sell to the US Navy directly. However, importer Alan V. Torneg rebadged them as the Torneg Ravel TR900. The no radiations logo explained. That bright yellow and red symbol, that's an assurance of tritium lume, not dangerous radium. This was adopted early by German Navy divers. Germany in particular had strict rules concerning the use of radium in military equipment. Blancpain's Bundeswehr issued 50 Fathoms watches were required to be free of radium lume. Blancpain are more than just a dive watch brand. They also make ultra high complications, exquisite flyback chronographs for example, and Chinese calendar watches. They've also got stellar enamel work from a small, highly specialised studio, separate from the main atelier, with its own workflow and some of the most skilled dial enamelers in the face of the planet. So the next time someone says, oh Blancpain, that's just the 50 Fathoms company, well now you'll know there's a lot more going on beneath that particular surface. than first appears, and that was an intended pun. So why won't Blancpain just build the watch we want? The calibre 1315 is too large for a 40mm case. It's designed for a 45mm case. The 1150 family of movements, the 1151, the 1153, they do fit smaller cases, but in a 40mm case shell, it needs a spacer ring, and Blancpain seems to hate that solution. So their choice for the moment is 38mm or 45mm in regular production, and that leaves a gap right where enthusiasts want a 40mm hacking modern specification 50 Fathoms watch. These are the exact situations that Homage watches play hard in. This Watchdives NORAD Homage cost $200 with a domed sapphire crystal upgrade. This particular watch is no longer available, but I have heard they are working on a new version made from grade 2 titanium, whereas this one is media blasted to give the appearance of titanium but is actually 316L stainless steel. The case profile is based on the Tournai Grail TR900 previously mentioned, somewhat, not exactly, but it gets close. Ironically closer in spirit to the Navy issue original than many luxury 50 Fathoms that are created today. Bulova have recently reissued the mill ships W2181. Hamilton also make a similar khaki navy scuba reference watch as well. Bulova, Hamilton and Tournai Grail, amongst a few others, were essentially competing for the exact same Navy supply contracts, and that's why there is design overlap between all these watches. This Watchdives looks like matte titanium. It was also marketed that way, perhaps showing future intent, but as previously mentioned, it's actually 316L stainless steel with a fine media bead blasted effect on it to give it that titanium look and dullness. It has a military style stereo case back. There was an earlier version of this watch that had 19mm wide lugs, but this version here definitely has 20mm wide lugs. I've measured it several times in the calipers, and the silicone strap that's on it just now was definitely ordered as a 20mm wide strap. It fits perfect. As far as I have been able to research, this watch was also released in very limited production numbers, and before this titanium version they're working on becomes available, it's almost to run this as a kind of prototype and seeded it out to the public. It's not individually numbered, but only available to order for around a month, then it was discontinued. It could possibly be as rare as that Blancpain 2021 reissue. How ironic would that be? Military divers deliberately dulled their watches to avoid sunlight reflections that could give away their position. And here's where my own personal experience proves the point. Snorkeling in Corfu 20 years ago, I wore a shiny luxury dive watch. A barracuda patrolling the edge of the reef caught a glint of that watch and it swam straight at me. A real Sigourney Weaver moment. I panicked, I flayed my arms, and I ended up shoving my hand straight onto a sea urchin. There was a painful lesson learned that day. Shiny ain't safe in predator-infested waters. That's why I question Blancpain's current approach. Their modern 50 Fathoms offerings, they lean heavily into polished luxury finishing, stunning on land, but arguably less suited to actual diving than the old matte tool-forward designs they once pioneered. Blancpain are rightly leaning into their heritage, but their business decisions and what collectors actually want are starting to drift apart. There's a real cognitive dissonance in that strategy. I swapped the cheap but passable NATO this watch arrived on for an alpine strap silicone with yellow stitching. It matches the NORAD's logo pretty well and it makes it a joy to wear. I now have a bit of a history of using these straps in my daily divers. The Bulova Marine Star, my Omega Seamaster 300M Professional, and now this NORAD's. I'll just chuck a quick spec slide on screen and we'll talk through this actual watch now. So we've got a case diameter of 40mm, a thickness of 13.2, a lug width of 20mm as mentioned, a lug to lug of 48. The movement is an NH35 Seiko automatic, 3Hz movement. Power reserves round about 41 hours. The crystal is a box dome sapphire. Water resistance is a stated 300 metres, and the weight is 91 grams on this alpine silicone strap. The NH35, it hacks and hand winds, but it leaves a ghost date position. The NH38 movement from Seiko would have fixed that, but it costs more, it's a lot harder to source in bulk, and for a $200 watch, it's an understandable compromise. For me, having those hacking seconds, it beats not having the hacking seconds every single time. And that neatly leads me on to this kicker. Blancpain released in 2021 their own homage to the original Rads 50 Fathoms. It had no hacking settings. It also came in the modern 50 fathom style case, sized at 40.3mm instead of 45. It used the caliber 1151 movement. It didn't have hacking settings. A watch at that price that didn't hack. It also had the Invicta style Blancpain text on the side of the case. This much anticipated watch was limited to 500 pieces worldwide, and quite frankly, this watch had missed the mark. A quick summary: the Blancpain Rads 2021 reissue, authentic but no hacking. Watchdives Homage, $200. It has hacking, but it is a ghost date click. No watch is perfect, it seems, even one at almost 100 times the price. Blancpain is moving smaller with the 38mm, and that's encouraging, but their watches remain shiny, polished showpieces with no true heritage offering on the horizon anytime soon. My Barracuda encounter makes me wonder, are these really the dive watches that Jacques Cousteau would have trusted? Or are they now just more high-end jewellery for the surface dweller, the archetypal desk diver, the collector's dream? The 40mm 50 Fathoms NORADs in a vintage style case with flagship specifications and actual availability, it hasn't arrived yet. Blancpain remains a distant Grail for me. My 2018 Rolex Submariner is here to stay, but I'd love to add a 50 Fathoms to my collection. It's just they refuse to make the watch I want. I do like some of the Bathyscaphe references, and I'll not rule out adding one of them to my collection at some point in the future. Blancpain seem to have lost their way with the 50 Fathoms reference over several aspects of how they choose to interpret it in a modern form factor. The Homage brands are extremely active in forums and actively engage with their customers. Perhaps Blancpain should take note. The Homage is often a reminder of what collectors are asking for, but Blancpain refuse to deliver in any meaningful way. A brand can truly sabotage itself from a consultancy perspective. Get out your checkbook here, Blancpain. Make a 40mm traditional T900 style case, TR900 style case. No date, with hacking settings, less decorated movement, military style case back. Undercut slightly the price point of the Rolex Submariner, position it just above the Omega Seamaster 300M Professional, and make it widely available. Then Blancpain would have problems. Real problems. Problems keeping up with the demand for this watch. That watch would be a surefire winner, and we all know it. Are you in the same room, Blancpain? And there is a wider point going on here. Homage companies have built viable, scalable businesses by actually listening to watch collectors. They test prototypes, they ask for votes, and they respond to what enthusiasts want, often faster than the large Swiss ateliers who curate their champagne offerings more diligently than the watches that they create and sell, pushing out watches of gate-kept mediocrity often faster than they can pour that Louis Roederer into a flute glass for you. That's why this homage resonates with me. It fills a slot in my watch box that Blancpain refused to acknowledge even exists. In the world of Blancpain vintage auctions, there's a shadow story collectors also can't ignore. Independent researchers allege that some of the eye-watering prices for early 50 Fathoms examples weren't purely the result of bidding wars, but may have been driven by insider participation, with Swatch Group themselves being accused of quietly bidding on their own heritage pieces to push values higher and increase historical brand equity to mythical levels. It makes sense. If you've got a marketing budget of £100,000, what kind of penetration in today's saturated market is that going to make? Not much, but if you pay that for a watch, it becomes front page news, especially in horology related magazines and press websites. Look at how the Paul Newman Daytona became front page news, or one of those Monaco watches that Steve McQueen wore in the Le Mans movie. As watch collectors, we all know those stories, and Blancpain have become a brand that has also accessed that kind of marketing story. And here's the twist: whenever you place a bid online at Christie's, Phillips, Sotheby's, Bonhams, your IP address is recorded. They know exactly where those bids have came from. If multiple bids really did originate from inside Swatch Group networks, as alleged, the auction houses would definitely know this. But no auction house has ever confirmed or denied these rumours officially. There's no forensic proof in the public domain, and no legal case has ever forced full disclosure. Yet the silence from the auction houses themselves, while under fierce scrutiny, speaks volumes. The net result of all this? Classic Blancpain 50 Fathoms references, especially the Rads and the Tournette Raval models, they have become unobtainium for ordinary watch collectors, locked away in the world of six-figure auctions and sealed provenance. And that's exactly why Homage brands and alternatives thrive, because they give enthusiasts a way to actually experience and interact with these legendary designs in hand and on wrist without auction price gouging or manufactured corporate gatekeeping. So here's the question: would you pay Blancpain money for a product widely acknowledged as being flawed and compromised? A hard to obtain product that doesn't quite hit the spot? Or would you compromise with an equally flawed Homage product but at 98% less financial outlay? For me, this Homage isn't a substitute for a Blancpain. It's a reminder of what collectors regularly want and ask for, and proof that sometimes the smaller upstarts listen better than the big ateliers. Ironically, this specific Homage is no longer listed as available on the Watchdives website. It leaves one to speculate that perhaps the brand that refuses to make the reference collectors are clamouring for may also be protecting that reference to prevent other companies fulfilling that demand. Or maybe Watchdives are watching the scarcity business model of the Swiss and copying that as well as copying the watches. When you overview Blancpain's product and marketing decisions, especially compared to Omega, many collectors feel that Blancpain is intentionally kept as a small, ultra-luxury niche brand within Swatch Group. And I'm speculating wildly here. Could this be to protect the market position of the Omega Seamaster 300M Professional and Planet Ocean watches? These are watches that Blancpain's own products could directly threaten if produced and marketed aggressively within the Swatch Group ecosystem. Whether that's deliberate strategy or simply market positioning, the effect is the same. Blancpain seems to always ignore the watches that collectors actually want to buy. Right, time to settle the debate the watch world still argues about. Historically, the 50 Fathoms did come first. That is undisputed. It was wrapped up in military secrecy, but it beat the Submariner to the punch. But in my collection, after everything we've covered here today, the Submariner got there first. And yes, it's the Hulk. And remember, collecting watches isn't logical, but it is horological.